Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, they say never meet your mentors or your heroes. That's total bullshit. I got to meet Tom a couple years ago at MIC DC, and he's been one of my heroes and mentors ever since. He's an author, speaker, has one of the most amazing podcasts called Screw the Commute. I listen to it every chance I get. And he's also known as the King of Kaching. So welcome to the show, brother. I'm so grateful and humbled and honored to be able to finally chat with you.
Oh man, I'm thrilled to be here. You know how I feel about veterans, and I anything I can do to support you guys and ladies, I'm there, man.
I love it.
I don't know if you knew, my dad was in the cavalry in the early 1900s and had a horse.
No way, really?
Yeah. I have a picture of him sitting with a 1911 Colt 1911 in his hand. And it was a real 1911, not a now they're still making them, in 2022, but it was a 1911.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it goes way back.
Yeah.
As far as the country. So my first question is, because everybody knows in business or in life in the last 2 years, 3 years, due to COVID, a lot of people had to pivot and a lot of people had to find resiliency. What is your definition of resiliency?
Well, this was long before COVID and long before the internet, but I was on my way to being a millionaire before I was 30 in a nightclub business with 7 days a week for 6 years, bikers trying to kill me, gunfights, knife fights. I was in over 100 violent encounters. And then after all of that, the drinking age went from 18 to 21 and wiped me out of business. I lost $400,000 in 1980s money and got hurt, no health insurance, living in a vacant house on a mattress, couldn't walk, watching a black and white TV, which a lot of you young guys never even seen one, let alone or heard of one, let alone seen one. And I'm laying there living off credit cards, and I'm hearing my dad in my voice in my head saying, you're young, you're strong, you can come back. You got to keep upbeat. You got to keep your mind open, because if you let all this bad things crush your mind, the new opportunities won't come in. And so I'm laying there and I'm watching candid camera on this black and white television. Now, everybody loves candid camera, but nobody really could participate in it because you had to live in California and get caught by the camera. So I'm doodling a little devil sticking his tongue out at you. And I thought, I could do this, but make it people could participate. So I thought up a company called Prank Masters, and we custom design practical jokes for parties and anniversaries and weddings. And I moved to Washington, D.C., and starved to death for 6 months. So had to stick it out. But then it got caught on, and I ended up doing over 4,000 jobs in the 6 years we did it. And it led off to my speaking career, which led me to meet you, and all kinds of good things came from it. So resiliency is, I guess that little story was to boil down. You have to keep your mind open when things are down so that the new opportunities can get in. If you close it down and just, clam up, all these great things could be right around you, but you have no chance to implement them because they can't get in. That's the first time anybody ever asked me that question. So that's my answer.
Okay, then, you said your dad was in the cavalry, your dad was in the military. So what made you go, because some people either they go for the military, kid goes for military, or they go total opposite. What made you go into the entrepreneurial space? And also, I think you said something by the age of 29, you owned apartment buildings.
Well, no, but before I graduated from college, I owned 5 apartment buildings and a hotel.
So now, where did that all come from?
Okay, well, first of all, my dad was in the cavalry. Where'd you go? You left me. You still there? There you go.
Yep.
Okay, so first of all, all the cavalry stuff was long before I was ever thought of. So but my dad was an entrepreneur. He actually put the first electric light bulb in Carnegie, Pennsylvania at 10 years old. At 13 years old, he had his own electrical contracting firm. And, it was all battery operated even in those days. And so all I saw was entrepreneur stuff. And so when well, actually, another thing that might piss all of you veterans off, I had an appointment to the Naval Academy and I turned it down. Because I went up there and I saw everybody jogging to class, and I'm thinking, I'm a free spirit guy. I'm not good at taking orders, really. And I said I would have got court-martialed in like 2 seconds. But anyway, so I saw all this entrepreneurial stuff, but my dad was one of the smartest guys I ever knew, and he always instilled in me be excellent and continuously learn. I mean, when he was 70 some years old and retired, I actually saw him sit down and read the entire World Book Encyclopedia. We used to be 26 volumes, and a lot of people never even seen or heard of such a thing. But
yeah,
and that was on DVD, and then now it's all internet. So it was really brilliant. So he said, always keep learning and keep improving. So I was in college on a football scholarship, but I lived in a house, and the landlord would come over to work on the house. And I would say, hey, Frank, I'll help you put those gutters up, but you teach me how to do it, what you're doing, because continuous learning, I'm it's in my brain. It's still to this day. And so at the end of the semester, he comes over and he says, Tom, I want to talk to you. And I'm thinking, oh man, what do we do now? So he says, in 25 years, I've been renting students in this town, this college town. Not once, ever had one of the students asked to help me do anything, let alone want to learn something about it. 25 years, all these students, thousands of students. So he says, I want to retire and go to Florida. I own a hotel about 20 minutes from here. I want you to have it. He says, if you can come up with the first mortgage, I'll hold back the second mortgage, which means a no money down deal, which was kind of unheard of in those days. And so I'm like, wow. So it took, this is some of the lessons here, resiliency and persistence persistence really, is I had to go to 50 different lending institutions to get the first mortgage. They kept flipping me away like, oh, you're a little kid, what are you doing? Like, you can't own a hotel, blah, blah, blah. Took me 50 tries. I just wouldn't quit. I got the first mortgage. He held back the second mortgage. He taught me how to run the place. I had a manager there. I went down once a week. And in the 70s, I was making $65,000 a year just from that property while I was in college. And then I sold it to the city for a couple $100,000. So I made about $500,000. And it all came from helping him put gutters up and screens and paint and stuff like that, where no other kid would do it.
Okay, so now, I've had plenty of guys. I've had several 7, 8, 9-figure earners. And one of the gentlemen, he was one of the largest timeshare owners in the world. And I asked him, we were playing poker one night. And I said, I asked him, I said, how did you do it? And he said, you know what? I've had hundreds of thousands of employees, and not one ever asked me how I did it. For jobs, they came and asked me for loans, but they never asked me for how I did it. So is that what you think, that guy's seen something in you because you asked the question?
Yeah. And for all the young people out there today, it doesn't even take much for you to be above most of your brethren. I mean, because a lot of these young people coming up can't do anything. They're entitled and so forth. So you do a little bit and you stand out way above the crowd, and people, old farts like me, that can make or break, make breaks for you. We don't want to do it if you're entitled and you can't wait to run out the door and you're late for work and all these things that are standard in our generation, or my generation. Now, you're younger than me, but in my generation, you were on time. My whole thing is, if you're not early, you're late.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
and so and you don't run out the clock watching for 5 o'clock and then run out the door. So so it doesn't take much. So he saw something in me that he had, again, I stood out because 20 or thousands of students that he had rented to never lifted a finger and could care less. And then I showed initiative, and he made a break for me that was a massive, massive break.
Now, one thing I love that you said you got about $500,000. Now, the majority of people nowadays would be taking pictures on Instagram with models and all, and they would get fat, dumb, and happy. But you could have just stopped there. What was your next step now that you had some money in your pocket? What was your next move? Because a lot of people, they'll sell their businesses and then they're dead within 5 years. So
Yeah.
what made you push further after that?
Well, I could have been dead, but it wasn't from laying around. It was because continuous learning kicked in. I started, I didn't have to make money. Hi, Rachel. How are you? I didn't have to make money. So I used the same principle over again. Gave before I get. I wanted to fly airplanes. And so I hung out at the airport, and I would do, again, I was halfway to being a millionaire, and I hung out and said, hey, I'll help out with the planes, but you guys teach me some stuff. You pilots help me out and teach me. So I got my private pilot's license, and then I would take any kind of job, crap flight that they had. I know it sounds exciting to fly planes, but not all of them were that exciting. And I would ferry planes for free to get my hours up and my experience up. Oh, and it was funny. Wichita, Kansas is where they make Cessnas and Lears. And so in those days, there was no navigation or communication radios in the plane. You had them put in locally at your local airport. Well, I would pick up a plane in Wichita and fly back to Pittsburgh area, reading the road signs on Route 7. That's how I got home. So I did all that, and then I ended up being a charter pilot. Back in those days, I was making $30, $40 an hour, kind of like a high-class chauffeur, but I was, freelance, just enjoying flying all over the country, and so that's what happened next. And then the nightclub came after that.
No, it's amazing, a lot of people ask me, well, how do I get people like David Meltzer to come on your show, Gary Vaynerchuk, Robert Kiyosaki, Ken Shamrock? And I said, because I provide value. And, I'm always looking to provide 10 times more value than I ever ask for. Mm-hmm. So, but a lot of people nowadays, if Gary Vaynerchuk said, I'm willing to mentor you, but you got to work with me for free for a year, they tell him, I can't work for free.
Right.
I'm too good for that. But if when we were coming up, if somebody like that, like Johnny Carson would say, you come in and I'll teach you for free for a year, we'd be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Talk to us a bit about the mindset of, sometimes you have to maybe intern or work for free, or, maybe work at a lower rate, but you're actually learning 10 times more than they're going to pay you.
That's the thing. You give before you get. It's a pretty simple concept, but it's like I said, it's not as common as it should be.
So you got into because the whole nightclub world. I'm from Jersey, and there's a lot of bad juju that goes on in the club scene. So how long did that last?
Well, that lasted until the drinking. It would last 6 years. I was 7 days a week for 6 years. And I had, call me crazy there, Richard. Do you want me to call you Rick or Richard?
Whatever you want to call me.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know, call me crazy. I took over a biker bar and decided to turn it into a nice, nightclub and restaurant. And somehow those bikers just didn't appreciate my efforts. So it was 7 days a week of, two gunfights, 2 full-blown gunfights. And I'm not in the service. Remember, I'm just a guy. And over 100 violent encounters. Now, I had a lot of training. I had been in martial arts my whole life. And then I graduated to it's no longer art anymore. This is the real thing. And I have actually website. Anything that happens to you that doesn't kill you. We're talking about digital marketing. So I did a 14-hour seminar called Brutal Self-Defense and videotaped it and made a product out of it. So, I mean, it is brutal too. I mean, all the things you can do to a human being without a gun. So that was 6 years, 7 days a week. And again, through no fault of my own, I got wiped out. The drinking, it was a college town outside of Morgantown, West Virginia. I had the second biggest nightclub in the state. Huntington, I think, had a bigger one. And when the drinking age went 18 to 21, it totally wiped me out. But here's another kind of lesson from that. Your reputation is really all you have when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And so my dad said, don't you ever screw anybody over in your businesses. And so I'm at the point where I get wiped out and I can go bankrupt or not. And I'm sitting there in the middle of the night. The place is all dark by myself, just, thinking about what's happened to me and what's the future holds. And I said, you know what? I'm immediately going to go to all the creditors because I had equipment and, beer supplies and all this stuff, and the mortgage and the delivery cars and everything. So I'm going to go to all the creditors immediately. They're never going to chase me. I'm going to them and make an appointment. And I said, look, you guys know me. I worked that place to work my fingers to the bone. And I didn't drink up all the profits. I didn't, carouse, and I just got wiped out. I said, if you give me time, I will not go bankrupt and not screw you. I will pay you every nickel I have. I was young and strong. I could do it. Every one of them said yes. Of course, they didn't have much choice, I guess. But they said yes. And I paid every one of them off over time. And I could go back to that town this day, and any of them that are still around would say, that's the guy that did not screw us. And that's reputation. So nothing wrong with bankruptcy laws. I get that. But the thing is if you can avoid it and not screw people over, you have your reputation intact.
Yeah. Now, little known fact is I actually have family from Morgantown.
Oh, no kid.
I've actually grew up a Mountaineer fan.
Oh, I was a starting guard there for 2 years. I actually squeezed 4 years of college into 5 because I was a redshirt guy when I first
and one
came
thing
up.
I love about that town is they're all hardworking,
Right?
Family people, and if you ever needed something, somebody would have it for you. So I love Morgantown, West Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, West Virginia people get ragged on a lot. I mean, when we went to play California Golden Bears at Berkeley, California, all us hicks are on the bus and walking through town and seeing things we had never seen before. and they even showed us disrespect in that, we were the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Yeah.
But on the marquee at the football stadium, it was the Western Virginia Coal Miners they put out there. And then we beat them.
Yeah, and you guys get some brutal weather too. So
yeah.
But let's get into marketing.
Yeah.
The first thing I ever remember, because I'm 53 now, first thing I ever heard was marketing, because I always was never able to sleep. So I would stay up in like 2 a.m. and watch Don Dupree.
I remember him, yeah.
Placing ads in little.
Right.
And that was my first thing of like, wow, this whole marketing thing, there's got to be something to it. And, you're reaching masses of asses by doing this. So what was your first experience in the marketing industry?
Well, I had been doing it since I was 10 years old. I was, you remember, I grew up entrepreneurial. So I was selling advertising matchbooks door to door. I was selling encyclopedias, driving. I won all the awards for selling encyclopedias. And I found out that, you can still make a lot of money. Hey, Rachel, again. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for being here. That you can be honest and still make a lot of money. All right. You don't have to rip people off. I think Don LaPree end up going to prison for something. I don't know. So you don't have to do that. And um, so I was marketing from the time I was 10 years old. In fact, I bought my first used car at 15 and sold it at a profit before I even had a learner's permit. so I was surrounded by entrepreneurism and marketing. But if we jump ahead of that, we had people. There's another guy that's in jail now. I can't think of his name, but he was selling this memory course, and he was a total fraud.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of frauds out. In fact, I ended up promoting a guy that sucked up to me and kind of, hoodwinked me. He was a total sociopath, and I put him on the map. And then I started getting calls from people. He's robbing them for anywhere from 13 to $100,000. So I went after him big time, and then I started becoming known as a consumer advocate. And so all these people telling me how they got ripped off, and I said, man, I can't go after everybody. So I pitched a TV show. It's in development in Hollywood. It's got a little military aspect to it. It's called Scam Brigade. And so there's a trailer, and they're trying to sell it out there. The problem with it is when you go after bad people, they just sue you like crazy.
Yeah.
That's to try to bury their nefarious deeds. But a lot of the marketing is bad, and that's why I'm consumer advocate. That's why I started a school, because when I was selling online since 1994, since the commercial internet started, I said, how am I going to set myself apart with all these ripoffs and all this noise? And so I went through 3 years of kind of living hell, getting background checks and security checks and financial checks, and I have the only licensed, dedicated internet and digital marketing school in the country. And it took 3 years to get the license. And so, and we give scholarship. We give a 50% scholarship to all military and their families, and we also make sure that on their tuition, after their whatever down payment they can put down, that they never pay more than $97 a month towards their tuition, and they have an actual skill. I'm a real advocate against the traditional 4-year colleges anymore. All they do is indoctrinate people, and you get out and you're competing for jobs at Starbucks. So with internet and digital marketing, you have a skill that's in super high demand. Every company on earth needs it. And in 6 months or so, I mean, we have people that was making $6,000 a month before they graduated, because people are, the youth is kind of revered in this field, because I keep young people around. So if I need something done, I say, I can't figure this out, you do it. And they come back in 10 minutes and it's done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been around marketing my whole life, and I'm pretty good eye for it now of what's real and what isn't. And the old adage of, if it looks too good to be true, you've already been screwed.
So no, but you were there when email marketing just kicked off.
Yep.
You were there when nobody even knew what the hell an email was. Or like, I remember when I had the dial up.
Yeah.
And I actually had Hotmail, and I thought I was cool. So, talk to us, because back then it was like the Wild Wild West. But then you had to, even if you can write decent copy, you were going to make some money.
Yeah, people would sign up for anything at the time. It was so new. Now you got to bribe them and pay them to, opt into a freebie nowadays almost. But back in those days, there's all the video stuff, and the stuff we're doing now is like magic. I mean, on this StreamYard thing that we're on, because it would take 3 hours to download a 2-minute video on dial-up. You'd have to tie up your phone line to get a modem that would do it. And then I remember even the other technology. It took me a couple years to get a printer that would print in landscape instead of portrait. It was crazy. And then the shopping cart system I had cost $3,000 for a shopping cart, that if it actually took the order and did it correctly, we would have a big office party because it was so bad. And we had an affiliate module that from a different company to get so people could refer us for a commission, and it didn't work for 6 months. And each geeks from this company would blame them and they'd blame the other I mean, it was just chaos. So there's just it was worthwhile though, because prior to that, you know, it was hard enough to sell my stuff across the street, let alone sell my stuff around the world from my desktop. So I said, again, persistence, I'm going to figure this out. And for 2 years, I didn't make a nickel till I got good training from a guy named Corey Rudel, who was making like $5 million a year from his apartment. So as soon as I got good training, I started making money.
Okay, I want to dig in deep into that. But first,
Mhm.
I want to thank sponsors. Without you guys, the show wouldn't go on. As you guys know, I love veterans. All my sponsors are veterans 100% of the time. We just came out with a new T-shirt called "Today I Decide." On the T-shirt, on the back, it says, "This T-shirt saves lives. Ask me how." Every time I sell a T-shirt, 100% of the proceeds go to help Project Die Hard, which helps veterans with mental health issues and homelessness. So if you guys love T-shirts, if you love swag, check out our swag. I'll drop that link below. And also StreamYard, thank you so much for having me. If you guys want to start your own show, we give you a coupon so you can start your own show for nothing. So just check us out there. But now, Tom, you have a big heart for veterans, and it seems like when a veteran gets out of the military, we no longer have a career. We no longer have camaraderie. We no longer have a mission. And quite frankly, once you get out of the military doesn't give a shit about you. So your phone stops ringing, and now you're a man or a woman on an island without a without a mission anymore. And I think that if a person gets out of the military, if they become an entrepreneur, they're less likely to take their own life if they have a mission or a purpose. So, what do you say to a guy or girl gets out, even if it's just 5 years in the military, they don't know what to do? Do you think entrepreneurship meshes well with the military mindset?
I think it does. And the reason is you have discipline. You know what it takes to get stuff done. I mean, a lot of people today, if something doesn't go right, they quit. And military people are not quitters. Military people are tough as nails, and that's what you have to be an entrepreneur, because it's not all going to go right. Like the 6 years I just, wasted, selling booze to people and trying to get killed over. Right. So yeah, I think it's perfect for them. But bigger than that is what you can, besides taking care of your family and your basic needs, the things you can do for other people that's really tough if you're just going to a job that you get a fixed pay scale, and you're lucky if there's no more, gold watches in 20 years anymore. You're lucky if the company doesn't get bought out in 20 minutes and they shit can you like right there. So you're limited. And another thing that I've been teaching a lot, is if you're in entrepreneurship, you can make your hobbies tax deductible. So for instance, I have a crazy site called fatsotennis.com, because I'm the largest person ever to create and star in a tennis training video. Right. So, but everything's expensive, but I can legitimately take tax deductions for things that I love to do. So if you're out of the military and you love certain things, you can probably online make a business out of it so that you can do it all the time. Or family interests, camping and soccer and all that stuff. You make an inexpensive WordPress website, put a responsive theme on it. Responsive means it looks good on cell phones and tablets. And you can either make a product or you can do an affiliate product. So you find some other camping product, and then you promote it, and then you get a commission when somebody buys it. So you don't have to create your own product. So it's perfect for that. But that's stuff that makes you happy. But a lot of the stuff, I've been doing this so long, I try to make other people happy with the power that I've gained because of this. So probably the shining glory for me is I raised in 5 minutes $75,000 to feed 288 homeless kids for a year. And I thought, man, because I'm looking at my fat gut and I'm thinking these kids are starving under bridges, and So I did that, and I rescued hundreds of dogs, animals, did that. Now, most recently, my school, I got a scholarship program to help persons with disabilities. And this is kind of interesting because I kept thinking people without legs and mobility problems, first two people that join are blind, doing internet marketing, and they're shooting better videos than me. Talk about inspiring, giving them a chance when they get shit on, most of the time. And, talk about suicide rates, combined veteran suicide rates with just disability. It's way high, it's way higher than it should be. So I can help bring that down by getting them employed gainfully, and they can not only learn from home, they can work from home legitimately, which I've been preaching for 28 years. But since COVID came along, if there's one good thing that came from COVID, it's like people said, "Oh, I can work from home. I didn't know that." Yes, you can. And so that's kind of the good things you can do with the power you have, and there's no limit to it when you're doing online.
And I took a course because I took a course by John Lee Dumas because he's got one of the top podcasts in the world. So I want to be one of the top guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, I invest in courses. Travis Johnson, I invested in one of his courses. But I think now there's so much information out there that you don't have to go to college anymore to be a digital marketer. But you got, but like Ed Milet talks about, you got to put the reps in. You got to, maybe spend, instead of watching that football game on Sunday, maybe watching YouTube or maybe listening to Screw the Commute podcast.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm very down on the colleges now. I have a whole webinar about, they're raising grade point averages. They're faking larger grade point averages to make it look like the education is better. And then the testing is showing the kids are dumber. And they did a study with 2,000 students, and 45% of them said they learned absolutely nothing that they use in college. And the rest of them were like a very tiny percentage of the whole thing, but they all were stuck with debt, big debt, no usable skills, competing for jobs at Starbucks. And then the cost that the colleges is like 8 times the cost of living, the raise in tuition. In my consumer advocate role, if these colleges weren't colleges, they'd be in jail. Right? Because they're just the fees that they're charging, you don't even know how much it's going to cost. They have fees for every ridiculous thing on earth. And I have a whole quiz on the 7 college ripoffs. It's on my school site. And so and you still don't have like I said, you have to have a usable skill. That's the whole thing. And so the reason I just fired up about this, because I've been in all kinds of businesses, because every business on earth needs this. And most of them are clueless on what to do. So you can either work for a company, have your own business, or both if you learn these skills.
And I love that. Like I had Jeff Lerner on last week, and he was talking about how, he failed at 11 businesses, spend over $250,000 on that. But now he's making millions of dollars a year, where if a kid that goes to college for a basic education comes out with a student loan of $250,000, and you can't get a job making $60,000 a year.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. But parents have been brainwashed, and the neighbors will make you look at you funny if your kid's not going to college. No, there's welders that can make $250,000 a year. A good welder, an underwater welder, can make a fortune. Electricians, plumbers. Try to hire a plumber in my neighborhood or an electrician.
I was just gonna say, try to find a plumber on a Saturday afternoon.
Exactly. Your toilet's leaking all over the place. So I'm all into digital and internet marketing, but I'm more into people having skills that somebody wants. It's in demand. And so I don't care if they don't come to my school, as long as they got some kind of skill and they're not out, learn how to protest.
And I love that, and I think for me, one of the best skills I think anybody can learn, especially if you're in the marketing, podcast, whatever you're doing, is learning how to write good copy.
That's the number one thing I've been preaching that for years and years and years. Absolutely. Number one skill.
Where do you think I got it from? See?
I thought so.
So now, like I said, I've only been doing this now, the show seriously, for about 18 months. And I didn't start making money on it until I took a course. And I thought it was bullshit. I just started.
You left me again.
Well,
Calling all Richard. There, you're back.
No money. There's no way I can make money while I'm sleeping. So I called bullshit. I took this course. And then my father passed on Valentine's Day. And I had to spend a week with my mom in South Carolina. And I was still getting money, even as I was doing stuff. Money was still coming in overnight from Japan, Europe, and England.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I realized, if you don't have evergreen products, you're missing so much of the boat. So please, knowledge on that.
Well, and another thing is, see, first of all, digital. The reason I love digital is because 97% profit. So you have to really try to mess up at 97% profit to not make money. The other thing that's been really important that I want everybody to really consider and look into is called residual affiliate programs. So here's an example. I wrote a book in about an ebook, short ebook, in about 4-hour layover in McCarran Airport in Vegas. I remember vividly doing it. And as of this morning, it's brought in $3.81 million. And you're saying, oh, that's bullshit, Tom. How could a free thing bring in that much money? Well, here's the method. The book taught you how to do something and the benefits of doing it, but you can't do it unless you buy the tool or lease the tool to do it or join the membership or whatever. And so you sell it once and it keeps paying as long as the people are still in the program. I've had people in it some 15 years. And so to this day, it still brings in $5,000 to $15,000 a month, no matter what I'm doing. I always say I couldn't stop the money coming into my checking account if I tried. And for me also, I had something with my parents. My dad died and I had to move my mom into a safe place. I took off 3 months of work. More money was in my checking account when I got home than when I left. In fact, I must be holding myself back when I'm here live. I don't know. And then I got in a hunting accident, and Richard, it would have been such a great story had I gotten shot. But no, I fell on a log and I perforated my intestines. Intensive care for 2 weeks, 6 months, couldn't lift more than 5 pounds, big hole in my stomach where they repaired everything. And money kept coming in the whole time. So I call it like an insurance policy for your family. Money can come in. And people love real estate, right? Well, we call ours VRE, virtual real estate. You don't have to kiss ass on a banker or anything to get, loans for a $150 website that's world class, I might add. Don't go spending $5,000, $10,000 on a website, folks out there. WordPress, responsive theme, some graphics off of Fiverr or Upwork or something, and you got a world-class website for $150. So yes, this is important for your security, your family. If you want to take off, you get sick of it for a while, money can keep coming in.
Okay, now when I met you, it was in Mick, DC, 2019. On the same day, I met a gentleman. His name is Mr. Dennis Yu, and he taught me that it doesn't take a lot of money to make money. And he showed me how for $1 a day, you can make a huge presence on Facebook or any social media, just making 60-second videos. And it's amazing how I still see all these people, I'm a big Russell Brunson guy. I do have a ClickFunnels, so I'm not really going to talk trash about it. But I see a lot of people dropping so much money on websites, like you said, going to pay $5-10 for a website, or just start a ClickFunnels when you could spend maybe $50 a month on maybe Facebook ads. But a lot of people are like, well, you can't do that. I'm like, you could still do it if you do it the right way with good copy, right?
Yeah, and knowing what you're doing. For instance, one of the best bargains out there are called YouTube in-stream ads. these are the ads where you can click the skip button. A lot of people don't know if they click the skip button before 30 seconds, you don't pay anything. And most salespeople will tell you you need 8, 9, 10 contacts with somebody before they make the sale. So you can get a lot of that for free. And a lot of times I do the ad and tell them to click the skip button, if I can pre-qualify them. And in fact, this is kind of funny because this has to do with military spouses. We got a deal with the Department of Defense called the My CAA program for military spouses, because they're always getting dumped on.
Always.
I live in Norfolk, Virginia area. They always have to take shit jobs, and then because people know they're going to move. And so then they go somewhere else, get deployed, and then move, and then they take another shit job, So this scholarship program, and actually got me invited to the White House to talk to Mrs. Pence about it. That was her platform, was military spouse employment. So with this portable skill, you can go anywhere with it. So we had that program. I forget what the hell I was going to tell you. What were we talking about there?
It's just like I said. It's just that with social media, we can be sitting on an island somewhere, being able to make money, and you don't really have to spend a lot of money to make money.
That's what I was telling you about YouTube in-stream ads. That's how I got off on that, because I would do an ad for the military spouse program, and a lot of the military spouses, with all due respect, they're selling this multi-level marketing crap and having to sit at Starbucks and piss off all their friends. All right. So I would do an ad that says, hey, if you're a military spouse and you're happy with your Lululemon crap and making your friends mad, just click the skip button there. You probably don't care what I have to say. But if you're a military spouse who wants a portable skill where you can take wherever you're deployed and keep money coming in for your family, you might want to listen to me. Now, I was getting sometimes 4-cent views on those ads, those in-stream ads, for the same keywords that would cost me $1.50 to $5 a click on the main Google search. So you can mess up pretty bad on those ads and still come out all right. Now, you still got to do it right to get down to 4 cents or a few cents per click, but that's a good bargain. Another good bargain is Amazon sponsored ads. So if you happen to make an ebook and turn it into an Amazon Kindle book, you can get up there with the biggest authors on earth for pennies. You don't pay unless somebody clicks on it. So there's a lot of bargains out there to do this. And that's part of my claim to fame, is I teach people how to do stuff on a shoestring budget instead of blowing money on stuff that's, and speaking of copywriting, these copywriters, you can write it for good or for bad. So they take the dog poop and they write how great, this is the greatest dog poop on earth. You got to have this for your internet business. And that's what it is. It's crap, Yeah. So you got to be resistant to the shiny object stuff. But when you can find the good stuff, it doesn't have to be expensive.
Okay. And, also if somebody asks, a lot of people ask me, well, what should I do? What should I do? And I'm like, well, what do you enjoy? Well, I enjoy, maybe it's underwater basket weaving. Start a podcast about it. Somebody out there loves underwater basket weaving. And for me, I love podcasting. I think we're on like episode 500. I think we're in like the top 5%, 0.5% in listen notes. Mm-hmm. But I think it's, if you want to start something, it's free. You can start a podcast for free.
Yeah,
and make a shit ton of money, especially with the affiliate programs. So talk to us about your podcast, why you started it, and just, give us a little background on that.
Okay, well, of course, it's called Screw the Commute, based on the fact I never had a job, and it's, kind of catchy. But what the mistakes people make with podcasts is they want to get a sponsor. All right, now you have some sponsors,
yeah.
But the problem with that is most podcasts, the hardcore reality is that sponsors pay from $12 to $18 per 1,000 downloads per episode.
Yeah.
It's hard to get 1,000 downloads per episode. You could go a couple years and not do that.
Yeah.
So I say, be your own sponsor right off the bat. And this isn't sexual, but if you got a mouth, you got a product, right?
Yeah.
Because you could coach people on stuff. As
Yeah.
long as you know more than they do about it and have shown some success in it, you can coach them for, $50, $60, $100 an hour, $200 an hour. You can start a membership site right from day one. You can write an ebook right from day one and make more money than it would take you a year or more to get a sponsor. You can, just all kinds of ways to monitor it if you are the product and you are the sponsor. So don't just, wait for sponsorships. You make your own breaks, like right now with digital products.
Yeah, but now, a lot of people ask me, because they ask me now, I think we just got voted. I think we're in the top 2 Army podcasts, according
Beautiful.
to podcast. But they ask me, well, how do you get all these amazing guests like yourself and, and all these other people like Robert Kiyosaki and Lecter. And I say, well, I don't know about a lot of things. So I invite people on so they teach me. So I can learn from them, because I couldn't afford to spend $1,000 with Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lecter for an hour in a mastermind. But if they come on my show, I could spend an hour and ask anything that I want.
Well, exactly. And that's, they're all, if you've heard their name, they're publicity hounds and they want to be in front of people. And so, it's a great vehicle for that. In fact, that's how I met you. That's how I got to speak. Did you see me speak at the group up there? And
of course, I didn't miss it.
Yeah. And get invited to the White House and all this stuff. And for a while, Stephen had me as admin for your vetpreneur group because I was doing so many free trainings to be in front of 16,000 veterans, because that was one of my goals. I need to help veterans and get in front of them so I can help them with my school and stuff. So, and that's one of the podcast hacks that I teach people when I train podcasts is, it used to be I would teach people, go join the group, but see, I couldn't even have joined your group, because I'm not a veteran. So I couldn't even have joined your group. But I told people, join the group and then be nice and make comments and don't promote yourself like an asshole too much. And, maybe somebody will check you out and hire you. Not anymore. I go right to the top now. I interview the admin of the group, and guess where they put the podcast when you make them look good? Right and so you're right at the top, and all the members of the group are exposed to your podcast. See? And I also use that, like for instance, I had a thing on business insurance, an episode. Well, I've bought a lot of insurance, but I'm certainly no expert on it. So I used a tool called Speak Pipe, SPEAKPIPE. It's a widget you can put on your website, and people can click on it and leave you a virtual voicemail. And so, it's super cheap. You can, if you go to screwthecommute.com, do it when we're done here. And there's a little blue bar that says, leave Tom a voicemail. And you click it, you talk into your computer. It sends me an email and says, hey, listen to this voicemail you just got, or I can go to the SpeakPipe site and do it. So what I did, Richard, is I went to an insurance Facebook group, and I went to the admin and I said, hey, can you, I'm doing this podcast on insurance stuff, and can you leave me 3 minutes worth of tips on the SpeakPipe and promote your own business and all that? So then he left that audio there for me. I edited it in to the podcast, and then he showed my podcast in his group of thousands of insurance agents. So it's very cool. And I think I did it again with an insurance association executive, had her do 3 minutes of tips. And you can also use that same thing, Richard, for testimonials. Hey, what did you think about Screw the Commute podcast? And has it helped you? And then I can edit that into the podcast. Yeah. So cheap, again, a $20 tool that has that kind of power. See, I love that kind of stuff, because I grew up very frugal. My dad came from, like I said, Syria on a cattle boat. And, we had well water, I can't, to this day, I can't let the water run while I brush my teeth, because I hear my dad saying, don't waste water. What's wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of low cost, no cost tools out there. And I'm going to give everybody a book, an ebook, if it's okay with you,
Definitely.
on automating your business, because I want you spending time with prospects and customers and developing products and services, not fighting with your computer. So these are all the tips and tricks, low cost and free, that I use to handle 60,000 customers and hundreds of thousands of prospects over the years. So they can get that at screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. Maybe we'll put it in the
Oh,
notes
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
I'll put that in the description.
Yeah.
But I had Greg Reed. I just interviewed.
Yeah.
I just put his episode out yesterday, and he said the problem with a lot of people is they'll ask people that haven't done it
Right.
to do it, except where he will. Greg said, if I want to know how to write a best-selling book, I'm going to go to a best-selling author. And he says most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, if you go there being humble, they will take time to show you.
Mm-hmm.
So, why are we going to the middleman when I can reach out to you about starting a podcast instead of talking to another guy? He's only got 3 more episodes than I got.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, most of the people that have made it, don't mind giving back, and helping people get started and so forth. But that's the thing, is they've been there, done that, so people come up with, I call them CSIs. People come to me all the time and, people say, what, crime scene investigation, that TV show? I said, no, CSI stands for crappy, stupid idea. So I say, and everybody's ideas are crappy and stupid, including my own, until you can prove they aren't with experience and real numbers. That's why we do keyword research, to make sure people actually want what you're trying to sell before you build a website and waste a lot of money trying to push an idea that nobody wants. So there's all kinds of cheap, inexpensive, or free tools to figure this out to give you the highest chance of success. That's what I want.
All right. So now, as we're winding down, what is your top 3 pieces of business knowledge that you can give somebody that they can use today to start crushing it in digital marketing?
Okay, so number one of all, and that's why podcast number 1 is about this, is keyword research, what I just mentioned. Now, the thing is I want them to listen to episode 1. Anytime you want to listen to one of my episodes, you go screwthecommute.com and then / and then the episode number. Episode 1's on keyword research, but episode 130 is an update based on voice search. See, people don't talk into their cell phones and tablets exactly the way they search when they're typing. So you need to know both of these. It's the number one mistake people make, is they don't do this research before, and then they build websites and all the social media, and then they hear crickets chirping. That's backwards, Richard. You learn what people are looking for and how many times per month. There's tools that does all this stuff. Google Keyword Planner is free. And then you build your stuff to match what they're looking for. That seems like a lot more logical to me, but most people get excited about their idea and build all the stuff and then hear crickets chirping. So number 1 is keyword research, and episode 1 and 130 will teach you how to do it. Then the other thing is persistence. You're going to run into obstacles. Things are not going to work. There's so many things, I'm Mr. Big Shot, but I mean, I have so many failures. But one of the things that I didn't coin this statement, but fail fast. Don't take a year to fail in a hurry. and then you learned what didn't work, so and expect it. Don't get all depressed when something doesn't work, but don't spend a lot of money either. For instance, we can do tests called split testing in copywriting and all kinds of book cover testing, everything, in a matter of days that used to take months and months and months with direct mail. So fail fast. And then I guess I morphed into the third one there, is split tests. One of my mentors, he said, the internet's a simple math problem. He says, you do something and count what happens. And then you do something else and count what happens. Whichever gets the highest count, do that. Right? It's pretty much, but most people do something and they pat themselves on the back and, oh man. But the guy that taught me the split testing method, from an original sales letter to the final version after he tested the headlines and prices and guarantees and all this stuff, sold 19 times as much as the first one. So that's how you get rich. So the first letter might have been losing money, but 19 times the sales made it a highly profitable. So you can't slough off on testing. So there's three that are really critical.
I love it. So how do we find you again? How do we find the podcast? Can you tell us about that ebook that you said you're willing to do for our fans?
Yeah. This is it's called How to Automate Your Business. And but actually it'll automate you on your computer so that you can do more things that you want to do. So just one of the tips we estimated sold me or saved me 8 million keystrokes. So that's just one of the tips. So it has cell phone automation in it and all the email automation, all the things that I do so that I'm not wasting time on the computer. I have time to spend it with customers. So you go to screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. We sell it for $27, but for you folks, it's free. I take care of my veterans. So that's really critical. So then they could just email me at tom@screwthecommute.com. And screwthecommute.com is the podcast. We're pushing almost 700 episodes. And still going strong. So, and over 200 of them are just straight training. So if you like just straight training, there's probably $1 million worth at my rates of training there for free. If you just go screwthecommute.com/training, instead of an interview episode, it'll be me teaching you something that and I wouldn't be running my mouth. Richard knows me unless it's important. Right. I don't just do fluff stuff. So, and virtually all of those have made me a lot of money. So once in a while, you'll hear me talk about something that I said, I haven't personally done this, but people I trust have and made a lot of money. So you can be sure anything that you see on there works.
I love it. Tom, I just want to say thank you, brother. You've been a mentor to me. I've listened to, I think, almost every episode. So if your numbers have gone up, it's my fault. I take blame for that. But I just want to thank you for being, even that day when you gave me a hug at MIC 2019, that really helped me become the man that I am today. So I just want to say thank you.
Well, I thank you. And, my commitment to veterans is very high. Every September is Vetpreneur Month. So it's all dedicated to veteran entrepreneurs. But as I say on each of those episodes, it's really dedicated to all veterans who have sacrificed so much so that I can do what I do and the rest of the country can do what they're doing as safe as possible. So we thank you.
I love it. So guys, make sure you check out Screw the Commute. Make sure you check out the podcast. Get that book. And as my t-shirt says, today I decide they're the 3 most important words in the English language. You can decide today whether you become a victim or a victor, whether you be a failure or a success. Make sure you check out Tom and leave a comment for us if we're doing our job. If you got something out of this that you didn't think about before, leave a comment. And guys, remember, vertical momentum, the only way to go is but up. And Tom, I just want to say thank you, brother, and have an amazing weekend. All right, guys, have an amazing weekend. Stay safe, and I'll see you Monday.